Chapter 8, Simba. We sat there watching the sun go down behind the flat brown plain that was covered with thorn trees, and we could see the sinister vultures waiting like feathered undertakers for death to come along and give them something to work on. Suddenly the voice of a man yelling in Swahili exploded into the quiet of the evening. It was my boy, Disho.
Bwana!
He was yelling from somewhere behind the house.
Simba! Bwana! Simba! Simba!
Simba is Swahili for lion. All three of us leapt to our feet, and the next moment Disho came tearing round the corner of the house, yelling at us.
Come quick, Bwana! Come quick! A huge lion is eating the wife of the cook.
Robert Sanford flew into the house and came out again in 5 seconds flat, holding a powerful rifle.
Get those children indoors,
he shouted to his wife as he ran down off the veranda with me behind him. Disho was dancing about and pointing towards the back of the house and yelling in Swahili.
The lion has taken the wife of the cook, and the lion is eating her, and the cook is chasing the lion and trying to save his wife.
As we came running round the corner, we saw 4 or 5 houseboys leaping about and pointing and shrieking.
Simba! Simba!
The women had come out of their huts as well, and were standing in a separate group, silent, immobile and staring.
Where is it?
Robert Sanford shouted, but he had no need to ask, for we very quickly spotted the massive sandy-colored lion not more than 80 or 90 yards off, and trotting away from the house. He had a fine bushy collar of fur around his neck, and in his jaws he was holding the wife of the cook. The lion had the woman by the waist so that her head and arms hung down on one side, and her legs on the other. The lion was loping away from us in the calmest possible manner with a slow, springy lope, and behind the lion, not more than the length of a tennis court behind, ran the cook most bravely and waving his arms like a whirlwind, screaming, shouting,
Simba! Simba! Simba, let go of my wife!
Oh, it was a scene of great tragedy and comedy both mixed up together. And now Robert Sanford was running full speed after the cook, who was running after the lion. He was holding his rifle in both hands and shouting to the cook,
Bingo, Bingo! Get out of the way! Bingo! Lie down on the ground so I can shoot the Simba! You're in my way, Bingo!
But the cook ignored him and kept on running, and the lion ignored everybody and ran with the head held high and carrying the woman proudly in his jaws, rather like a dog who is trotting off with a good bone. It was an awkward situation because there was no way that Robert Sanford could take a shot at the lion without risking a hit on the cook's wife, let alone on the cook himself, who was still right in his line of fire. The lion was heading for one of those hillocks that was densely covered with jungle trees, and we all knew that once he got in there, we would never be able to get at him. The incredibly brave cook was actually catching up on the lion, and was now not more than 10 yards behind him, and Robert Sanford was 30 or 40 yards behind the cook.
Hey!
The cook was shouting,
Simba! 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 Let go of my wife! I'm coming after you, Simba!
Then Robert Sanford stopped and raised his rifle and took aim. There was an almighty crack as the big gun went off, and I saw a spurt of dust just ahead of the lion. The lion stopped, dead, and turned his head, still holding the woman in his jaws. He saw the arm-waving, shouting cook, and he saw Robert Sanford, and he saw me, and he had certainly heard the rifle. He must have thought an army was coming after him, because instantaneously he dropped the cook's wife onto the ground and broke for cover. With great leaping, bounding strides, he was in among the jungle trees on the hillock. The cook reached the wife first, then Robert Sanford, then me. I couldn't believe what I saw. I was certain that the grip of those terrible jaws would have ripped the woman's waist and stomach almost in two. But there she was sitting up on the ground and smiling at the cook.
Where are you hurt?
Shouted Robert Sanford, rushing up. The cook's wife looked up at him and kept smiling and said, "That old lion, he couldn't scare me. I just lay there in his mouth pretending I was dead, and he didn't even bite through my clothes." She stood up and smoothed down her dress, which was wet with the lion's saliva. And the cook embraced her, and the two of them did a little dance of joy. Robert Sanford just stood there gaping at the cook's wife. So, for that matter, did I.
Are you absolutely sure the Simba didn't hurt you?
"No, Bwana," the woman said, laughing. "He carried me as gently as if I had been one of his own cubs. But now I shall have to wash my dress." We walked slowly back to the group of astonished onlookers.
Tonight,
Robert Sanford said, addressing them all.
nobody is to go far from the house. You understand me? And Bingo, please continue to cook our dinner. I'm getting hungry.
Yes, Bwana.
They said.
Yes, yes, we understand you.
The cook ran into the kitchen, clapping his hands and leaping for joy.
I don't believe anything like this has ever happened before.
Robert Sanford.
In the first place,
He went on.
lions do not attack people around here unless you go near their cubs. They can easily get all the food they want. There's plenty of game on the plain.
We sat there sipping our drinks and trying to find some sort of an explanation for the astonishing behavior of the lion.
Normally,
Robert Sanford said.
I would get together a bunch of hunters first thing tomorrow morning, and we'd flush out that old lion and kill him. But I don't want to do it. He doesn't deserve it. In fact, I'm not going to do it.
The story of this strange happening spread all over East Africa, and it became a bit of a legend. And when I got back to Dar es Salaam, there was a letter waiting for me from the East African Standard, asking if I would write my own eyewitness description of the incident. This I did, and in time I received a check for £5 from the newspaper for my first published work. There followed a long correspondence in the columns of the paper from the white hunters and other experts all over Uganda, Kenya, and Tanganyika, each offering his or her different and often bizarre explanation. But none of them made any sense. The matter has remained a mystery ever since. From Going Solo by Roald Dahl, adapted. Sinister, seeming evil or dangerous. Undertakers, a person whose job is to prepare the bodies of dead people to be buried or cremated and to arrange funerals. Swahili, a language widely used in East Africa. Bwana, a word used in parts of East Africa to address a man who has authority over you. Immobile, unable to move. Loping, running with long relaxed steps. Spurt, an amount of something that flows out suddenly and with force. Instantaneously, immediately. Embraced, put one's arms around somebody as a sign of love or friendship. Gaping, staring at somebody or something with your mouth open in shock or surprise. Game, here, wild animals or birds that are hunted for sport or food. Flush out, to force an animal or a person to leave a hiding place. Legend, here, a story that becomes very well known. Correspondence, here, Writing and answering letters. Bizarre. Very strange or unusual.